Hi guys, Neil Waterhouse. Been getting a lot of questions lately asking how to set up the postal rates table on eBay to help with drop shipping. If you're not familiar with the eBay postal rates table and what it can do for you, especially if you have a dropship business and or you ship larger items, let me first quickly explain, then I'll also explain how to set up the eBay postal rates table for both drop shipping and shipping from yours or your supplier's warehouses. Postal rates tables are especially useful if you're drop shipping and or you're shipping larger items. Of course, Australia is a huge country. Before eBay bought out the postal rates tables, we would offer free flat rate shipping across Australia. Now, this of course meant, we'd make good profits from shipping when customers were local. However, when customers were from far away from like some, mining camp in the back of Western Australia or some island off the coast of Queensland or Western Australia, we'd very often lose money with these orders. For years before eBay released the first postal rates table in Australia, our eBay reps were continually onto me, about free shipping. They would say, customers love free shipping, we've surveyed it, you've got to do free shipping. We knew this. We knew that customers love free shipping because if you sit around with friends or whatever, you'll hear people say, I bought this, and then they'll have a pause. And I got free shipping. It's like, the human beings, we all know there's no such thing as free shipping, but, people do buy more if you offer free shipping. eBay's saying, you've got to offer free shipping. Well, of course, this is all well and good, but, as everybody knows, there's no such thing as free shipping. Someone's paying for that, and that, of course, in this case was me. So what we used to do, if the item's being shipped from Sydney, from say a Sydney warehouse, we'd base our free shipping costs to Adelaide. And whatever amount it costs to ship from Sydney to Adelaide, we would add that amount of money onto the sell price and offer the item as free shipping. So, for example, if we were selling an item for say $100 and the cost of shipping from Sydney to Adelaide was say $20, we'd list the item for $120 with free shipping Australia-wide. If somebody bought the item in say Sydney, we would of course make more money because we budgeted on the price to ship to Adelaide. But if somebody bought in, say, Perth, the cost of shipping would be higher than our budgeted Adelaide, and therefore the extra cost would eat right into our profit margin. If somebody from a mining camp in the back of Broome or somebody on Rottnest Island purchased the item, we'd invariably lose money. What we discovered, there was a lot of people in these remote areas hanging over their keyboard or with saved searches, waiting for an eBay seller to list a heavy item like a gazebo, a pool pump, a skateboard, or whatever with free shipping. I remember once listing a kid's ride-on car with free shipping, and within minutes, the first sale came through from the Northern Territory. Now, that was a $400 lesson, but that's another story for another day. Now, with the latest eBay postal rates tables, you can set up now to 100 different zones and offer free shipping in whatever areas you choose. And even more importantly, you can charge customers in the other zones whatever amount you choose. Yes, it's a bit of a pain to set up the rates tables, but it's well worth it. You'll find most of your competition won't bother. Now, using the postal rates tables, you can set up free shipping in just a few zones and charge different amounts for all the other zones. And you can also totally exclude zones that you or your supplier or your shipping company doesn't ship to. You can also have up to now 20 different rates tables. So you can set up different rates tables for different areas, different warehouses, and or different courier companies. This is especially useful if you're drop shipping using multiple warehouses or multiple suppliers, and even if they're in different states. If you use the eBay rates table, you can be much more aggressive on price in your local area. If you're shipping your goods from, say Sydney, you won't be you're using a warehouse in Sydney and you want to just ship from Sydney to Brisbane to say Melbourne, you've only got a budget in the price of that. You don't have to, budgeting sucking eggs to ship it to these other remote places. An example is, if you're shipping from, say, Sydney, you don't need to budget for some buyers getting free shipping from the back of Darwin. This means you can be much more aggressive on pricing up, say, the eastern seaboard, if that's where your warehouse or the warehouse is that you're shipping from. Anyway, I hope that makes sense. Let's get on with how to do it. Now, Before you can set up the postal rates table on eBay, you need to have shipping prices from whatever shipping company that you're using. If you're drop shipping and therefore your suppliers are doing all the shipping for you, start with getting hold of Australia Post shipping prices. I'll put a link on the screen where you can download a PDF now which has all the latest Australia Post shipping costs broken down to the same regions as eBay, and also it'll include another PDF which also shows the area which eBay puts in each region. It should help you out. Okay, so once you've downloaded that, the first step in setting up your first postal rates table is to go to the URL which I'll put on the screen. Save that URL on your browser as one of your favorites, so you can go back to it, whenever you wish. When you go to that URL, you should see this page. When you get to that page, click on the edit button to the right of where it says Use Postal Rates Table. Now on this page, first choose whether you want to base your shipping on price, weight or surcharge. Personally, we always only use weight. Next, give this postal rates table a name. Here you can see I've just called this rates table test, as this is one of our eBay demo accounts. Next, before we start adding the zones, note that there's an express section and a standard delivery section. In this demonstration, I'm just going to use the standard delivery, but seeing they both get set up exactly the same. So now in the standard delivery, click on the plus sign to add a region. Let's start with New South Wales. Click the down arrow next to New South Wales. Then choose one of the three regions and then click the blue save button at the bottom. Now you'll see the areas located within that region. Now add the other two regions one at a time. And the reason you add them separately one at a time is so that you can charge a different amount for each zone. If you just click all three at once, you'll be charging the same amount for all three regions. So now you can add the cost of shipping, which you need to get from either Australia Post, use the link I put up above a moment ago, or you can use whichever shipping service that you wish. Like I mentioned above, if you're drop shipping, it's easier to just use the Australian Post prices. Now, the way the postal rates table is set up in eBay, it's set up like most couriers and Australia Post, where they have a base rate and then have a per kilo price. So for instance, the base rate might be say $6, to a particular region, which includes the first 500 grams. And then it could be say 50 cents extra per kilo. Now, when you've entered some prices in there, make sure you hit the save button at the bottom so you don't lose all your work. Ask me how I know that. Once you hit the save button, you should get the congratulations screen. Well done. Now it's time to make another coffee as you completed the worst part if you've done, if you've got up to this part. Give yourself a big pat on the back because most of your competitors won't get this far. Okay, so the next step is to connect your listings to the rates table. To do this, go into eBay and revise one of your listings and scroll down to the postage section near the bottom and select flat same cost to all buyers. Now you'll be able to see the new postal rates table. Note though, this bit had myself and my team flummoxed for hours or days. If you do not select flat rate shipping, your postal rates table will not show. Okay, now that your rates table is showing, you can now click the checkbox to enable the postal rates table to work on that listing. Now you can also do this in bulk if you have hundreds or thousands of listings. Now to prove this is working, view your listing in eBay and click on the See Details button like in this screenshot. Here you can enter any postcode to see exactly how much shipping eBay will be showing your buyers. eBay can do this as it knows the buyer's postcode in each listing, and you can add the postcode into each listing of your supplier. So you can revise in any eBay listing down the bottom, you can put in whatever postcode you wish to where your supplier is. Now here you can enter a few postcodes, i.e. Sydney 2000, Darwin 0801, etc. Now here's a big tip if you drop shipping. With most dropship suppliers, they don't show how much an item weighs. So without that information, you don't know what weight to enter into each of your eBay listings. Now before we figured out what I'm about to show you now, we used to contact the suppliers, via phone, email, live chat if they offered live chat, and this wasted so much time. If the supplier couldn't immediately give us the weight, we'd be forever chasing the supplier up, and this used to waste so much time. So what we do now is very fast and does not require contacting the supplier at all. So let's say your dropship supplier is selling a widget, and on their website it doesn't show the weight of the widget. But like almost all dropship suppliers, they have a shipping calculator. So all you do is enter 3 or 4 postcodes into their shipping calculator and get their shipping prices. Let's say, for example, you do this and the shipping cost for this widget to, say, Sydney is $25. Darwin is, say, $50, and Perth is, say, $75. What you do next is list the item on eBay and guess a weight. Doesn't matter what it is, just guess a weight. Let's say your guess was 10 kilos. Enter the 10 kilos into the eBay listing when you create the listing or when you revise it. Then view the listing and click on the See Details link, as I mentioned above, and put in the exact same 3 postcodes as you entered into your supplier's website in their shipping calculator, and see what prices eBay will be charging your customers. The amount that eBay shows will normally, of course, be higher or lower than because you guessed your weight. All you do now is go back to your listing and adjust your guess weight. So, obviously if eBay is going to charge your customer not enough, you go back and change your 10 kilos to 12 kilos, or the other way around. So this way you can do it very, very quickly. A $1 or $2 virtual assistant can do this whole procedure of figuring out exactly how much something weighs in just a few minutes. And before I get bombarded again with emails about where to get virtual assistants from, $1 to $2 per hour, I'll put a link on the screen this time. Now, the bit I love about this guessing the weight then adjusting to match is we don't have to wait for suppliers to get back to us. We're back in control. Anyway, bit of a long one this week, but the Postal Rate Table is really worth it. Yes, I know it'll be frustrating, but just remember, most of your competitors won't do it. That's all for this week. Please scroll on down and leave me a comment below. Until next week, list more, sell more. This is Neil Waterhouse.